Hey guys, so back in Crash Bandicoot The Insane Trilogy, part like 65 or 66, I ended up doing some post commentary because I was collecting the relics. And I said that I had a question for you guys. So I figured now would be a good time to ask it. We're getting closer to the end of an LP, and I figured that having this question asked will help determine what some future LPs will be, specifically the first in a series. Now normally in a series, when games are released, they're released in the chronological timeline order. So what that means is a game released in 2000, 2001, and 2002, so basically Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, released in those years, follow that timeline. Game 1 feeds into Game 2, Game 2 feeds into Game 3. Now that's mostly in things like platformers. So like the the Tasmanian Tiger games. First game was released, second game, and then the third game, and they follow that timeline order. I realize that I'm kind of holding it backwards, depending. I'll have to learn that with my camera. So they follow a story. It goes game 1 to 3, and that's the timeline order. Now, occasionally, that's not always the case. Things such as the Prince of Persia series, at least the Sands of Time, not counting the old NES stuff. So with the Prince of Persia series, it went Sands of Time, Warrior Within, Two Thrones. Then they released a off-branded, not off-branded, but kind of a like alternate universe Prince of Persia. And then in 2010, they released the Forgotten Sands, which actually takes place between the Sands of Time and Warrior Within. So it followed a timeline order, but then they said, oh hey, we forgot to include some stuff. Let's insert that in the middle of the timeline. And that's pretty understandable. You have a timeline that makes sense, but then they just fill in some stuff at a later date. Then you have games that aren't released in timeline order compared to when they were released. Namely, the Legend of Zelda series, where the first game is like the last game in the timeline, and then Skyward Sword, which was released in like 2011, is the first game, and the timeline and the chronological order of the story, or the chronological order of the release and the timeline of the story don't match at all. They start in one game when they are released, but they start in one game when it's a timeline. But then you have, for our last example, games that don't really seem to appear to have a consistent timeline at all, and that'd be Final Fantasy. So you have, Final Fantasy 10-2 and 12. 12 is technically a sequel to 10-2, but does it fall in the same timeline? Is 12 technically after 10-2, or does it come before? It depends on how they want to release it with their numbers. So what I'm getting at here is, as an LPer and as a viewer, how would you want an LPer to play it? Now, right now on my channel, at least with the Prince of Persia example, I have Sands of Time done. So the question would be, do you want me to go in the chronological order, which would then mean Warrior Within, Two Thrones, the spin-off alternate reality game, then come back to Forgotten Sands? Or would you rather me do the timeline order, which means I don't do Warrior Within, I actually jump right into the Forgotten Sands? So it's, do you want to see the games progress in how they're made, basically? And that would be the release date order. So, you see how they evolve from here to here and then added on to this. Or do you want to see it in a consistent time order? And then the same question can be for The Legend of Zelda. Do you want me to follow the timeline, or do you want to see the games progress as they were made? That's kind of what I'm getting at here. If you have any questions, I would be glad to be a bit more clarifying with it, because I know that I do not have the best English in the world. So let me know, do you want the release date order, or would you guys want timeline order? Let me know, and I will see you guys back here for more LPs. Thank you very much, guys, and have a great day.